crossways. Remember, what was the 4 things we had? We had our wedge, our second wedge. What, can you remember what our third wedge was? Elbow. Now, was the elbow just placed there or is it squeezing? Good, remember, my elbow, when I place my knee on this side of his hip, I'm looking for the hip bone. I don't go to muscle if I can get bone. And the reason being is muscle moves, doesn't it? Muscle moves. Okay, look how much I can move his bicep around. Bone doesn't move. It's solid. It's a solid surface. Hip bone, if I find his hip bone, it doesn't move. But I move his thigh, I can move heaps of muscle around. Okay, so my knee is on the hip bone, my elbow is on the hip bone. So now, when I create a wedge between them, that is that pinch pressure. So I've got a wedge in place, so he can't move this way. I've got a wedge in place, so he can't move his hips this way. Remember I said cross face? Cross face is not just putting my arm under, it is grabbing the material and curling it in and crushing with my shoulder forward. It's my shoulder across his face. That's why it's called a cross face, okay? My other wedge coming in is here. Spread his armpit out here, and now I'm quite comfortable. I'm not gonna, obviously if this is an adult, I'll be smashing my shoulder into him, but I'm not gonna do that to poor Bo. Even though he's got Arnold Schwarzenegger sized back. Oh my God. All right. Hey Arnie. God. Yeah. Riley 2.0, Arnie 2.0. Okay, so we've got all this the same as what we were doing the other day, okay? Putting our head down and stuff like this. When I go to use this frame, I don't want to pull my arm out. When I go to rip the lapel out, team, don't just lift your arm out and try and pull the lapel. What's happened to this wedge? It's gone. So what I need to do is I need to be here and I need to be working this out this way. So still move. Try and move, Bo. So it's taken me longer, but did I give that up? Same thing, if I lift my, as soon as I lift my arm, no pressure, where does he go? Bang. So what's the point of grabbing the lapel now if he's all the way up there? Does everyone understand what I mean? You're better off staying with your wedges in place, cross face, and use this walking method up here. Then when you got it, okay? I call, you know, the old pirate pass that Jugs would have taught ages ago. For those here, the pirate pass was when we put this in our mouth and we passed it up to our other hand. Okay, well, I can do this. Once I've got tension on, I can actually bite that, change my grip without letting go of it. Does everyone understand that? Okay, you are allowed to bite the lapel. You are allowed to put it in your mouth. You won't get disqualified for that. Just don't bite the person. Okay, so here, remember I was down, my wedge is here, but see how this material is loose? I need to have a way that I can get that tight without taking tension off his neck. So I can go like this. Okay, now that I'm here, I just want to give a quick explanation you can sit up this too. I'm going to give you, tell you can't answer this, okay, but I'm going to give you a nail, a piece of string and a pen, and I want you to draw me a perfect circle. How do you do it? If you're in the class the other night, oh, see buddy.
Wrap a string around the nail and pen.
Yep. Okay. But if I hold the pen, string's tied to the nail. Good, you've got it. But what do I need to make sure I do the whole time to ensure that I get a perfect circle?
Tension.
Tension. That's the word I'm looking for, everyone. If there's no tension on that pen, it's just going to be like squiggle lines. But if I pull that string as tight as I can and keep it like that for the whole circle, I'm going to get a perfect circle, okay? Same thing for this. Yeah, same position. Now that I've got my wedges in place and I've managed to pull my lapel down, what I want to do is I want to keep tension. If I just try and pass this under here, now I get it to my hand, this is still really loose, isn't it? The same amount of time that I'm trying to pass, if I'm taking ages to pass this, what is he able to do? Start moving, okay? Look, the wedges are down. But what we're going to do is, as soon as you've got the lapel and you've kept tension and you've punched it down, I then want you to punch it out. Draw the circle up. Look at this tension. Because what I've done is imagine everyone that I've still got this shoulder pressure smashing into both. Okay, so even though I've got my shoulder off him, I don't want to be 3 times heavier than him and have my shoulder crushing his face while I'm teaching. Okay, so my shoulder would be crushing and I drive this out and around. And I switch it to my other hand and I pull tight. Look at the difference in the material now. There's no give. Does everyone see that? Feeding it under soft, not perfect circle. Keeping the tension on and punching it under his arm gives me this nice tight grip on him here, okay? Now, remember the part that we got to the other night when we were doing this was we were losing position if you tried to pop up and put your arm under, weren't we? So remember, we had to trade. We had to bring our arm around under my own body first. Under my own body, and then switch my shoulder pressure onto their belly button or the knot in their belt. That knot in their belt and this movement was what did this. Now there's one thing I want to show you to do. I'm just going to pull this out the front, pretend this is behind his head. When I go to change hands, I don't try and bring this and I don't try and bring my hand up and try and grab. I just want to show you something that's really easy is I place my hand on the back, around his neck, and I bring this to my hand. Everyone see that? Yeah. That's a simple detail that will change how successful you are around the back. If you can't see, but if your hand is placed there, you only need to pull this lapel into your grip, and that is your grip set, Us. Okay, so that's what I'm doing behind his head. So we're here, arm goes where? Under, because I can't just come up like this. Where's my pressure gone? Remember, every time I move, it gives him the chance to escape, okay? So my weight's here, my weight stays on him at the center here, okay? My shoulder would be crushing, everything would be crushing, but now I transfer my weight to my shoulder like this. So where's my weight? Is it still on him? There's no point that I've taken my weight off him. And then I come around his head a bit, keep my weight on, and look, pass. Then I come over the top here, grab, drop my elbow in, sink down, and put my choke on, or as I did, elbow down, elbow flare. Okay? I'm purposely keeping my weight off both for that, otherwise my weight would be more centered over here, but I don't need to do that for teaching purposes, okay? Is everyone okay with that bit? Because I'm going back to this one because there's a lot here that weren't here Monday that did this. And this lapel choke comes on super fast. What I do want to show you though is once this grips in here, pretend I'm down low, you don't need to find the lapel. You don't need to waste time trying to find that. See this material here? If you bring your fingers around, as long as you do your fingers curl and drag, you're going to get enough material that you've got a solid grip here now. Now I turn my, don't put your hand this way because that's flat, okay? And that's the soft part of my forearm, isn't it? Where's the softest part of your forearm? Here. It's all soft here. Doesn't matter what you do, it's soft because that's where your main veins and arteries will run through, okay? Everywhere else you can start getting quite hard. So why would I want to have the softest part against Bo's neck when I go to choke him, when I can go here, I go top knuckle to the roof, okay, knuckles to his face, like that. Now I'm using the blade of my forearm across his Adam's apple, and the gi is working across his 2 carotid arteries. So I'm like, not this everyone, don't just drag it here and drop down. You can still choke him, but it's nowhere near as tight, okay? Without even having to have another arm in there, I simply turn my wrist this way and drop, and they're choking him with one arm, okay? Because the blade is crushing the throat and the carotid. Okay, thanks, bro. Okay, does anyone have any questions of that?
Is this an artery choke? Or?
It's both. When you do it that way and you apply the lapel, because remember this lapel is wrapped around his throat, so I've got this blade, oh sorry, bro, just grab a seat. So remember, I've got the lapel trapped around here.
Yeah.
So where this blade is cutting into this carotid artery.
Yes.
Around his throat, the lapel is cutting into his other carotid artery. My blade of my forearm is crushing his throat. Okay? Okay, ready on three. 1, 2.